Welcome back to my channel, Black Media Reviewed, and today I want to be talking about The Chi episode 6. We do finally get to see Keisha in episode 5, but in this episode we get to learn more about what she's going through. So what I'm going to do for this review is, instead of focusing on the different scenes, I'm going to focus on the characters and what we learned about the characters from this episode. And I'm going to start it off with Keisha, since we started this episode with her again, and just say that we found out more about the guy who kidnapped her. And like a lot of people speculated, it is the guy that we saw speaking to Kevin in the pizza shop. It's the guy that Emmett gave the flyer to running down the street. It is him. And we get to learn a little bit more about what his motivation is. So apparently Keisha reminds him of a girl he used to like when he was in high school, who rejected him, and instead of choosing him, she went and she chose like the captain of the football team or whomever. And after that relationship, she became more sexually active. She started dressing, a little bit more provocatively, and he mentions that she ended up getting pregnant early, got fat, and is on welfare. So he feels like it's his job to save Keisha from going down the same path, because he sees her acting similar. And I'm not gonna lie, a lot of these scenes are really hard to watch, but it's a necessary type of thing, because this is the stuff that goes on in real life in this world. I think we're not paying enough attention of when little black girls and little black boys are kidnapped or taken, because this is the kind of stuff that goes on. So if you find this hard to watch, just imagine all these kids that are missing that we just don't even look for or pay attention to, regardless of what the reasoning is. So I appreciate them building up that context, and the actor who plays the role really pushing so you can understand the creepiness behind it. So when you see people like this, or when you hear about a little girl that's missing, you'll think, or a little boy that's missing, you'll think this could be the type of person that they're dealing with, or worse. I appreciate just the extra amount of detail that goes into the story. And as much as I hate seeing Keisha in this situation, I do like that they committed to this storyline and they didn't just give up on it midway through. I don't think we're going to spend too much more time in future episodes with Keisha per se, outside of her rescue mission. The focus at this point is just going to be between Ronnie and the guy, him trying to keep her and Ronnie trying to save her. And speaking of Ronnie, in this episode, we do see that Ronnie has lost his grandma. He did get to spend one really good night with her. He got to take her to what used to be her old jazz club that she owned, which is now a strip club. And that was really a funny scene. And when they got in there, he's like, "Oh no, let's go." And she's like, "No, let's just stay here and do it." And that was so funny to me. My grandma was getting it. But we do see Ronnie get to spend the day with his grandma, and we see her talking about when she owned the club to all these younger people and inspiring them and all of that. And I think that was a really great scene. And I knew when we got that scene that we were going to see her unfortunately pass. But the thing about it is, there was really nothing else from a story standpoint to do with her character. She was always going to end up being like a background character, or a way to stop Ronnie from his mission, which is to find Keisha and get her home. So I feel like they had to kind of kill her off in a sense, because there was no other purpose that they can do with her from a story standpoint. So I kind of saw that coming. I'm happy that she got to pass in her bed. It was a peaceful death. And then that she had her grandson with her when she died, and that she had a great night before she left this earth. So there was a lot of positives to that scene. It was really sad, but I know that this is going to be a major motivator for Ronnie to want to hurry up and find Keisha, because that was a promise he made to his grandmother in episode 5, where she was like, "You're going to be the one to find her," and Ronnie was like, "Yeah, and he owned that." So I definitely think he's going to go extra hard now, because he wants to keep that promise to her. with Emmett this episode, we've already seen that him and Tiffany have been working really hard to keep this relationship, but they do seem to be fighting a lot. They always, it seems hard for them to have a really good solid connection throughout a whole episode. I definitely feel like they love each other, they care about each other, but there's so many things that is missing from that relationship that's causing them both so much pain. And then we finally get to see them meeting with this psychic and finding out that Emmett is gonna do something in the future that's gonna be the end of their relationship. And the psychic was like, it's your man that's gonna get you in trouble. Like, your man gets you in a lot of trouble all the time. And it was just funny to see that. But that just brings us back full circle to the situation with Dominique, because I definitely believe that the critic that was at their blackout, barbecue thing is gonna say some really good things about them and end up helping them in a way to get their own restaurant, which means they're gonna have more time together, and that's where his man is gonna get him in trouble. So I know that we're gonna see him slip up with Dominique, and I think it's understated, but we don't really realize or pay attention to the fact that Emmett is only like in his early 20s. He's only 20. He's not even 21. I didn't realize that until Jada had mentioned it. And I want to say episode 4 or 5. It was the episode with Tomas and his family. And when she mentioned it, I'm like, wow, he really is young. But we forget that because he's already had 3 kids because he started early. But he's still in a place in his life where he wants to be free and do whatever and be with whomever. And I think it's noble that he decided he wanted to try to have a relationship with Tiffany. But the real true thing about it is he's not the type of person who is ready for that. It's just not his personality. And because he's so charismatic and can talk pretty much anyone into doing something that he wants to do or wants to see happen, it's hard to tell somebody like that, don't do something, or only be with me, don't cheat on me and stuff like that, because he can literally talk any and every woman he's came across out they draws. He's been good at that. We've seen that about him since he started. So I do know that relationship's not gonna last, and I think it's gonna be because of Dominique that it's not gonna last. So we'll see what happens with that. And then lastly, I want to focus on the friendship between Jake, Kevin, and Papa, because their situation is going to kind of interact with each other and it's going to make a difference. We haven't really seen a whole lot from Kevin, really, because his storyline is basically, I do miss my sister. Outside of his storyline with Gemma, it's the sadness of wanting his sister back, and that's pretty much all we get with him. But with Jake, we have been seeing a little bit more development with him dealing with his brother Trig and dealing with Otis's character, or Duda. He got a little bit more development this episode as he finally was told by Trig who killed Reg, basically. So now he knows who killed Reg, and he knows he's living with this guy. Like, he knows he's living with Duda, and Duda was the one who put the hit out on his brother. Trig flat out told him, and like the way he broke it down, it was like, come on now, think about this. You've been around the game long enough to know how it's played. And we see them have their confrontation or their talk, and Jake gets to punch him, and then he's like, okay, so now you got that out, but just know either you're gonna forgive me or you're not, because you're not gonna sit here and keep bitching and whining about it. You're either gonna say, yes, we can work on our relationship, or no, we're not gonna be working on our relationship, and I never want to see you again. We do see Jake have that development with his brother, and then we find out that his brother is being followed, of course, by Otis's guys, because he wants to kill him, because he knows that Duda knows that Trig knows he killed Reg. So he doesn't want to keep him alive, and not only that, he doesn't want him to take Jake away. We see all of this kind of play out. What's going to be interesting is, will Jake leave with his brother, or will he stay with Otis's character? And I'm going to be honest, I believe he's going to stay with Otis. I don't think he's going to choose Trig, because he doesn't feel like he really knows him. And I think even though he knows Otis killed his brother, I think he believes he's going to manipulate him in some way, or he's going to trick him. He's going to use it to his advantage to get the kind of stuff he wants. So I don't see him running off with his brother. I just don't. One thing that his brother brought up that I think is going to affect his friendship with Kevin, Jake's friendship with Kevin, is that clearly Jake has a crush on Gemma too. But Gemma chose Kevin. But when you see Kevin get upset because Gemma let it slip out that his sister has been missing, because he felt like he can trust her, because nobody, especially when you're dealing with the type of environment that Kevin is around, where there is these bougie people, everybody's rich, and they're not sincere. They don't really care. It's just the hottest gossip for them. So the fact that it got out and it got around, everybody in the school is going to treat him like a basket case and not really be understanding, not even be helpful. They're just going to, pity him. And that, I understand why that bothered him. And it kind of left things up in the air with Gemma and Kevin, which means I feel like Jake is going to try to sneak in his opportunity to get at Gemma, and that's going to cause a rift in their friendship. Also, we have Papa and Maisha, and for whatever reason, Maisha doesn't want to claim Papa. And I honestly feel like that has to do with her still kind of having a crush on Kevin. Or even if she doesn't have a crush on Kevin, I think she appreciates the type of person Papa is. Like, he's a real sweetheart and he's really nice to her. But I don't think she's attracted to him like that. And I know these are kids, but it's that whole stereotype of good girls liking bad boys or more aggressive boys. And Papa's sweet, but he's not really her type. And I see her not really fully being into that relationship like that. I do like that they put Papa in a place where he's starting to question his faith a little bit. Not so much on whether he believes in God, but just wanting to know more about God. Because the thing about growing up in a church, especially when you are the preacher's son, is that you're taught everything from one person's perspective. He knows all the things he knows about the church and about God is coming from his father's perspective. And that includes things that could be man-made or his father's creation of how they're going to interpret the Bible. And I think he's starting to want to know more about what that faith really is and what it represents. And so we're going to definitely see some growth and some change in Papa. We might even see him start acting out, especially when, and not if, but when that relationship between him and Maisha doesn't work out. I think we're going to start seeing Papa acting out. And that can ultimately affect the relationship between the three friends as well. So we're definitely going to see a rift in their storyline, which is sad because we've been so used to seeing these three kids like grow up together. But that's a big part of growing up. That's a big part of life. Friends change when your environment change, when your hormones kick in, when life starts happening, and you guys kind of go your separate ways. They can always find their way back to each other, but that type of change is just inevitable. Lastly, and this is just really briefly, Lena's character, I can't remember her name. Her character that's running for mayor, we get to hear some insight on her being kind of crooked and dirty in the background. We already knew this about Otis because, he was the drug man who's trying to run for mayor. So we already knew that he was sneaky and shady. But I think everybody kind of had high hopes for Lena's character, especially after she gave that speech at the church. And I'm just like, dude, I would vote for her. Is Lena running? Like, let's do this. We do see that she's doing some crooked, shady stuff on the side, and Otis points that out. So now it's kind of a situation of who are we actually rooting for? And I think they did a good job at showing that in connection to what is going on in the country right now with the election between essentially Trump and Biden, where neither candidate is actually the right fit, but those are the choices we have. It's like, I feel like Duda represents Trump, where he's clearly not the right option because we know his character frontward and backwards, and we've seen him in action, and we know what he's capable of and what he's not capable of. So he's clearly not the right option. And then you see Lena, who looks like a better option, but she's just as sneaky and crooked on the back end too, which represents Biden. And so we're stuck between a rock and a hard place with our choice. Who's going to be the better mayor for the city? Who's going to do the best for the city is what what they're kind of playing out, and it's the same thing that we have going on in the country. Who's going to be the better president? Who's going to do better for the country overall? And our choices are not that inviting at all. And I wouldn't be surprised if the election in the show doesn't end until after the election in the country. So we probably won't know who will win until the following season. We won't know anything this season. And when they start shooting the following season, then that's when we'll see who actually won. So that's an interesting little parallel. I don't know if anybody else picked up on that, but I definitely did. I really like this episode, and I really hope that we get Keisha free soon, because that guy was really creeping me out. But we'll see, because I know that Ronnie is definitely going to go real hard on this, because he promised his grandma, and that was pretty much the last thing they talked about seriously before she died. So I know he wants to keep that to her. So we'll see how that plays out. And like I said, it probably won't even happen until the very last episode. But when it happens, oh my God, it will be so happy. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Did you like this episode? Do you think we're going to get Keisha free by the next episode, or we're going to have to just wait until that final one of the season? Thank you so much for joining me for another video. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video. Also, if you have any comments or anything that you want me to talk about specifically, just put them in the comments below. And I look forward to seeing you guys next video. Bye.